Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we will study about type 2 hypersensitivity. As we all know that hypersensitivity is basically an exaggerated response of our immune system and exaggerated response to non-harmful antigens. So when this immune response which is exaggerated is targeted towards non-harmful antigens, the antigens which are not harmful to our body, so this type of immune response by our body is known as hypersensitivity. And hypersensitivity has four types. The first type we have discussed in our previous video. In this video, we will discuss about the type 2 hypersensitivity. Type 2 hypersensitivity involves antibody mediated destruction of cells. So antibodies are mediated and helps in destruction of the foreign or self antigens present in the body. In type 1 hypersensitivity, in our previous video on type 1 hypersensitivity, we have learned that type 1 hypersensitivity is responsible for all the allergy that is caused in human body. So in type 2 hypersensitivity, we will learn that type 2 hypersensitivity is responsible for all the autoimmune diseases. So you can say that all the autoimmune diseases such as arthritis or hemolytic anemia are caused due to type 2 hypersensitivity reactions. And type 2 hypersensitivity reaction is mediated by IgG and IgM antibodies. And in type 1 hypersensitivity, we have learned that IgE antibody is responsible. But in type 2 hypersensitivity, IgG and IgM antibodies mediate this immune response, which is exaggerated. Now the antibodies IgG and IgM bound to the cell surface of the antigen and destroys or kills this antigen. But if the antigen would have been foreign, then it would have been beneficial. But this antigen is basically a self antigen or the own cell of the body. So the IgG or IgM antibodies basically attack their own cells by mistake due to this type 2 hypersensitivity reaction and kills its own cell. Example, own RBCs of the body. So if they attack the own RBCs of the body, so this disease can be called as an autoimmune disease. So that's why we say that type 2 hypersensitivity causes autoimmune diseases. And if they attack their own RBCs, the disease is known as hemolytic anemia. Type 2 hypersensitivity is also known as cytotoxicity. And the process by which IgG and IgM antibodies kills the antigens, the process is known as antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. In antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity, what happens is that the antibodies IgG or IgM involved gets attached to the APC or the antigen presenting cells, which are the NK cells here, the natural killer cells. The FC portion of the IgG antibody gets attached to the NK cells through the FcYR1 receptor, and the FAB end of the IgG antibody gets attached to the antigen or own cell, or basically its own RBC. So the antigen or own RBC gets attached to the IgG antibody through the FAB end. So now the antibody IgG cross-links the killer cell or the NK cells with the own cell or RBC and promotes the killing of these RBC or own cell by how? As the NK cells or the killer cells contains a lot of hydrolytic enzymes in it. So the NK cells release all these hydrolytic enzymes onto the cell surface of the RBCs and destroys or kills these RBCs. So in this way, the NK cells basically destroys its own cells because of this hypersensitivity type 2 reaction. So this can lead to the autoimmune diseases like the hemolytic anemia. And also these NK cells or the killer cells need this antibody to kill these RBC or own cells. That's why this reaction is known as antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. So I hope you have understood how the type 2 hypersensitivity reaction works. If you have any doubts, you can ask them in the comment section.